early, but I can use them. All right. Talk slowly. Huh? I have 55 slides. I cannot be slow in 45 minutes. Okay. So the actual first talk, the State of the Union talk, the traditional one I open the EasyBuild user meeting with. It's actually more of not an EasyBuild State of the Union, but a little bit about Easy as well. So I'll slowly leak into Easy a bit. These things are very, very connected to each other, these projects. Easy actually grew out of the EasyBuild community. So there's a very strong relation there. And you'll see that popping up a couple of times. So what I'll talk about is recent developments in EasyBuild, both technical, but also in the community, the uptake of EasyBuild and Easy a little bit as well. I'll mix in the usual results of the EasyBuild User Survey. I'll very quickly look at Easy and the Euro HPC Federation platform, but I only have like 2 or 3 slides on that. And then I'll do a bit of an outlook, short-term and long-term. What do we want to do? What are our challenges? And at the end, I have some crazy ideas. And actually, another crazy idea surfaced yesterday, which I didn't add in the slides, but Sam can tell us all about that. So I guess everybody here knows what EasyBuild is. Is there anyone who doesn't know what EasyBuild is? Again, you can be honest. So if somebody finds the slides, at least they have some idea. Easy, I guess most people also have some idea what that is. It's really going the next step beyond EasyBuild, so not working on a tool together, but working on the actual software stack itself together and making sure that works everywhere. Lara will tell us all about this on Thursday morning, so I won't go too deep here. And a bit of news here that you may have heard already is that Easy will be integrated in the Euro HPC Federation platform. So Henrik is going to tell us all about this also on Thursday, what this is and how Easy fits into this story. So yeah, more on that on Thursday in depth. The EasyBuild User Survey, we've been keeping this up for 8 years now in a row, and I'm hoping we can, well, or I don't forget about publishing the next survey again early next year. It's starting to become really interesting because if you do it 8 times in a row, you see stuff evolve and things go up and down. So I think it's really valuable to keep doing this and get some insight into the community, which is otherwise hard to get. So participation for this edition was really was really good. Again, 117 people participated. I have to send out reminders again and again, but I'm used to that. We're just one short of the record of 118 that we had in 2022. So I'm actually quite happy with getting anything over 100. That's a pretty good participation. Not all the questions are covered in the talk here, and I did promise this last year as well that the survey results will be available there. Actually, the ones from last year are still not there. But I'll try to make sure the ones for this year and last year are actually added. And yeah, I mean, there's a lot of bias in the survey. Only people that like to do a survey actually join the survey. So yeah, you have to be a bit careful with interpreting the results. But we do assume it gives us somewhat a realistic view of the EasyBuild community. One of the first questions in the survey is how many times have you joined the survey before? So at least 70% of the people have done it once or twice before or multiple times, but about 30% are new, and we see that typically every year. That's maybe not bad that we also get some new views, some new ideas, some new feedback into the survey. Some high-level things that I didn't want to make a separate slide for in the interest of time. If you look at the roles of people who joined the survey, it's still heavily either system administrators or user support. We've seen this really since the beginning of EasyBuild, and that distinguishes us a bit from SPAC. If SPAC does a user survey, it's typically very heavily focused on developers rather than sysadmin and user support. Todd keeps saying that also sysadmins and also user support people can use SPAC, and that's very true. And I guess developers can also use EasyBuild, but just feature-wise, it's not that good of a fit. So I think that explains this kind of situation. It's also still mostly European. Again, no surprise. It came from Europe. It also grew there. Most of the European sites use it. But there's a small part, and it's pretty stable, from North America. I guess the Canadians are a big part of that, but there's some people in the US also still using it. Now, what's interesting, to me at least, is that we see a big mix in terms of experience with EasyBuild. we're starting to get into a situation where about 10% of the people who joined the survey, and let's assume that's 10% of the community, has over 10 years of experience with EasyBuild, so has been using it for a very long time, essentially knows it inside out. And if you look at people with over 5 years of experience, that's over half of the community. So there's a lot of experience, a lot of people that can help you if you have any questions. That's very useful. And we still see an influx of new people as well. So the numbers here are pretty low, but yeah, these are only people that have been around pretty recently. So yeah, it's a good mix, I think. We keep seeing new people popping up, and people that have been there for a long time stay there. So I think that's a good. And what's also interesting, and that is really stable across the surveys as well, is that it's really word of mouth that gets people to adopt EasyBuild. So people telling other people, have you seen this? Have you tried this? Why are you not using it? And there's a growing part that is exposed to EasyBuild for the first time when starting a new job. So when starting a job where EasyBuild is already being used for several years, and they're sort of thrown in the deep end, and they have to learn how to use it because it's one of the established tools that the team is using. So this is all pretty stable across the years. That's why I didn't want to have separate slides. Now, this mix is also important to take into account, especially for people new to EasyBuild. I think that's always good to keep in the back of our heads, especially for the people that have a lot of experience. Some people are just very new to the tool, will come with weird questions, easy questions. And just, yeah, we should always be welcoming to the people who are new. I always try to keep it in the back of my head for sure. If people come up with questions that are easy or weird or stupid in some sense, it's probably because we didn't do a good way of documenting it, or the documentation is too difficult to find, or it's not well explained, or it's just a weird quirk of EasyBuild that we don't see in any other similar tools. So whenever there's questions coming, we should always ask, like, why are we getting that question? How can we prevent that question from happening again? It's difficult to keep doing that, but it's good to keep that in the back of our head. And the experienced people go blind to stuff. So there's stuff I have in my muscle memory that I stop asking questions about, and that new people say, why is it actually like that? And why can it not be changed to something that's better? Sometimes we're just very used to things and we take them for granted. That's why then the feedback from new people, I think, is very important. And to some extent, and this is maybe less true this year than it was last year, the influx of new people is fueled by Easy and the multi-scale project. So at least some people here in the room, like Lara, like Pedro, came into the project through Easy and through multi-scale. And yeah, they're funded to work on EasyBuild specifically, or at least with EasyBuild in the context of these projects. The slide for Sam specifically, where's Sam? Oh, there, yeah. The new EasyBuild logo, there's a survey question on that. More and more people are starting to like it. So you're in the stubborn 5% that still says, I like the old logo better. So it's growing on people. Yeah. So some of the old timers are stuck in their old ways, but that's fine. Grumpy old man, yeah. So this is something we did to celebrate 10 years of EasyBuild. So when it was available as open source for 10 years, we also wanted to do something special then, new logo, and yeah, it's growing on people. They're getting used to it. And if I personally look at the old logo, it looks a bit childish now. And it was drawn after many Belgian beers. And that's true. Not by my daughter, no. So one thing we also do in the survey, and that's one of the maybe most interesting questions, is looking at operating systems that people are using in EasyBuild, so on their HPC systems. And this is really start seeing trends across all the years. So you see CentOS 7 was very popular back in 2018 when we first did the survey, and it has really fallen off a cliff since then. No surprise, I mean, it's end of life. It has been for a while already. So people should really stop using it, and yeah, that's actually happening, or at least that's what they tell us in the survey. Now, what's also interesting is we're not seeing anything else that really pops up as high as CentOS 7 ever was. So it's really splintering. It's a more splintered situation than we had before. So it's two versions of Rocky Linux 8 and 9. So that's the square dots there. And then there's RHEL 8, which is the yellow line, the second highest. RHEL 9 is coming very soon as well, so that's starting to get a lot of adoption. It's now at about 15%. And then, yeah, a bunch of small things below. Now, everything here is Red Hat based. Other operating systems like Ubuntu and Debian and anything else are way lower. I have that on the next slide. So yeah, there's some splintering, but at least it's still the same kind of ecosystem, and it's not too bad here. By the way, if anyone has any questions, interrupt me. I think I'll have enough time to go through everything. This is the same plot, but then with Ubuntu added. And also looking over the year, so each bar is with the same color is a single year. So you can see Rocky 8 is making weird jumps. So this year it's actually lower than it was in 2022. And last year it was a bit of a drop. Of course, it depends on who joins the survey. So that's where you can see that you have to be a bit careful in interpreting the result. But Ubuntu is even less used than before. It's even now below 5%. In the EasyBuild community, at least any of the versions are. And at least there was a time where it was more like 15-ish%. Does that mean people are more going to Red Hat? I don't know if that really is a good enough or a strong enough thing to claim that, but yeah, it looks like Red Hat-based operating systems are getting more popular over the other. Looking at Python, this is again a very splintered view. Now, a very good thing is Python 2.7 is now really finally dead. There's still one person still using it, apparently. They should really stop doing that. But also here we see the splintering going on mainly between Python 3.6 and 3.9, which is not a surprise. 3.6 is a default in RHEL 8. 3.9 is a default in RHEL 9, so that makes sense. Now it is 3.10, 3.11, 3.12, so some people are also using deliberately newer versions, which can be a lot faster, so it does make sense. To some extent, that's a bit of a burden on us. We have to make sure we keep supporting all these versions. Python 3.6 is going to stay with us for many years to come if we want to be friendly to the community, even though officially it's already end of life. So Python itself is not maintaining it anymore. Red Hat is still maintaining it, so it is getting security fixes there still. But since it's the default in RHEL 8, which is based on this, not really going to disappear anytime soon, it's actually still gaining adoption. We'll be stuck with Python 3.6 for a while, I guess. Now, there's actually in EasyBuild 5 already reasons to use Python 3.9 over 3.6. So if you have an easy option to use at least 3.9, you should really do it. And I think Simon is maybe going to mention the reason for that. And if not, he's now putting it in the slides. So yeah, the splintering here is a little bit worrying, but in CI, I think we have good coverage over all these Python versions. Nothing much to worry about a lot. And of course, people are fine with getting rid of 2.7. I mean, they saw this coming. It's been deprecated for a while, so EasyBuild has been very vocal about we'll drop support for 2.7. And it's now finally gone in EasyBuild 5, so you cannot run EasyBuild 5 on top of Python 2.7. Then next to operating systems, another interesting thing is looking at CPUs. So first of all, Intel CPUs is also lots of splintering. What jumped out here for me is that Skylake is dropping off a cliff a bit, so it's getting old enough that people are getting rid of it. Also Broadwell and Haswell that still had quite a bit of usage, so 30+% for Broadwell is now disappearing. So people are killing old machines and putting in new hardware, it seems. And we're jumping to a next generation of things. Sapphire Rapids is slowly growing, but is still below 20%, so it's not big. And some people are really sticking to old hardware. So Ivy Bridge, Sandy Bridge, which is 10 years old by now, is still used by about 5%. Yeah. Some people just, if they can keep paying for the power, they just keep running the old hardware as well. Now, what's also interesting, which this slide doesn't show yet, but the new one does. So Skylake here is at 32%. If we look at AMD, Zen 4, so Genoa is at 33%. So this is the first time that AMD has more usage than Intel, at least in the results of this survey. But yeah, it's been clear to everyone that AMD is really taking over to some extent, and we see more and more adoption of that in and that's reflected in the survey here as well. Also here again you see the splintering. So Rome 2, so Zen 2 is actually going down a bit already. Also Milan is already going down. That surprised me a bit. And Genoa is taking over, sort of. Are people already getting rid of Milan hardware? I don't think that's really true. So again, have to be a bit careful what we interpret. Yeah. But yeah, it's interesting. So AMD is definitely very, very relevant to us. And then anything else? So here, take into account the scale on the left. The only thing that's really sort of relevant and has very low adoption right now is NVIDIA Grace. Everything else is almost non-existent. A64 effects, so the CPU used in Deucalion in Portugal is the only one that's really in view. And I think it's mostly because of Deucalion that we're getting any numbers here. I don't see any other system that has that. I expect Grace to really skyrocket next year. So I think we sort of see that coming. That there will be many Grace systems by the time of the next EasyBuild user meeting. So we're definitely in a situation where there's both Intel and AMD, but also ARM. And RISC-V is not really popping up yet, but I see that happening definitely in the next 5 years. So we've heard some rumors that there's very capable RISC-V CPUs coming maybe this year, but probably next year. And it's going to take time for them to actually be installed into systems, but within 5 years or so, we'll have 3 CPU families to really worry about. So, and that's going to be extra work in some sense. And then looking at GPUs, pretty much only NVIDIA GPUs, as I think most of us know. I think here this also shows that people are getting rid of old GPUs and replacing them with newer generations. So Volta is dropping, even A100 is dropping quite a bit. And Hopper is at least starting to rise. Now, what is weird to me is that we see 2 big drops, but no big increase somewhere. So maybe less people that have GPUs joined the survey because they were too busy fighting AI workloads. I don't know. So this doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, but fine, it is what it is. AMD is not in the plot, and the biggest number I saw there is 7.5% for the MI210s. Is that what's in Lumi, Kurt? Lumi, yeah, 250X in Lumi, so yeah, it's definitely there, but I didn't mention that. But I'm not sure where those MI10s are coming from. Are those more interesting to buy, or I don't know? PCI Express. Okay, so it's easier to experiment with. That's why it pops up on top. Air cooled, yeah. Okay, then at least the result makes sense. So it's not total bullshit. Okay, good. Yeah, question? You answered yes to the MI210, but you only have 2 of them. Yeah, so the numbers are maybe not that big. Yeah, but at least you have it and you're playing with it, or it's relevant to you in some sense. Yeah. But we should pass the mic if you ask questions.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it might be being heard because I can see the movement here.
Yeah. Careful with the cables. Yeah.
I'm aiming for that. Sorry.
Let's try to.
So the other interesting plot would be if you could multiply that with the number of GPUs that are in those systems. Because then MI250X would probably pop up.
Yeah. I have a separate. I have the numbers separately. That I don't have the plot on that here. You cannot just multiply these numbers from the survey. That doesn't make sense. But yeah, we should ask the question in a different way, maybe, to get a sense of scale of how. Yeah. I'm just looking at the mix of things, not really the numbers. So.
MI250X would be close to 3,000 nodes, while MI210 is typically used in very small systems to experiment.
Yeah. Yeah.
In fact, even though it's 7.5% MI210X, the majority of use of EasyBuild is actually on MI250X.
Yeah. So it's a bit of a skewed view. Tom, did you have a comment as well? Yeah. Yeah, the Hopper 200 is like 2% there at the very bottom. It's the first time it's in the survey, so there's no line. Yeah. So that's coming in Brussels, right? Next year. Yeah. Next year? This year? They're still. Yeah. Okay, so jumping a bit, EasyBuild tutorials. This is maybe less good news to some extent. There's a lot of stuff on the slide, but the last time we really had a proper EasyBuild tutorial at a conference was in 2022 at ISC. We resubmitted for ISC 23, it was not accepted. Again for ISC 24. Well, for ISC 24 we focused more on easy, so we made it bigger, let's say, or a different focus. We did a combination with EUM'25 as well, but those submissions have never gotten in either. So, I mean, the ISC tutorials are quite competitive, not because they think EasyBuild or easy is total bullshit, but it's just it's very difficult to get in there. And to some extent, it's more about bragging rights and really getting broad adoption thanks to having a tutorial at ISC. So, yeah, we'll probably keep trying, but yeah, it's not too big of an issue, let's say. The last proper tutorial we had that was free to attend was connected with the EasyBuild user meeting in London. We did 2 days tutorial on EasyBuild and Easy. That was fully recorded, so that's available on the tutorial.easybuild.io site as well. But that's already also 2 years ago, so we're probably due for another extensive tutorial. And we're going to do that online and free, so that's the way we get the best attendance. We did have a short tutorial on EasyBuild through the Epicure project and the Euro HPC community end of last year, which was also recorded. So at least that's about a 1.5 hour session that starts from scratch. If you're totally new to EasyBuild, that's the most up-to-date version we have. In the context of Easy, and I think Lara is going to mention that on Thursday, we have a series of online webinars coming up in May as well, talking about EUM'25, talking about Easy as an introduction, with various aspects of that as well. And we'll have a session on EasyBuild too. So that's always, I think, 2-hour sessions on Monday in May. We'll make that a regular thing for a couple of weeks in a row. And also those we will definitely record and make available online afterwards. But that said, we'll probably do a bigger one on EasyBuild, either again a series of tutorials or one full afternoon one or something, and really focused on the stuff that EasyBuild'5 can do as well. So Simon will briefly talk about that, but he won't have a lot of time to go very much in depth, and we want to do exercises and all that stuff as well. So I hope we can still manage to do that this year, to have something very much in depth. And it's important to keep doing that because of people who are coming into the community, who are new to the tool, we definitely need to keep having updated tutorials. Okay, jumping topics again, the number of software packages supported in EasyBuild has been rising steadily over the years. With EasyBuild'5, there's now a big drop because we got rid of easy configs that are using old toolchains. And it's actually a really significant drop. So we lost like, what is this, 600, 700 software projects that are today no longer supported by EasyBuild. We can bring them back by taking those old easy configs and trying to move them to a new toolchain. But it looks for many of them that software is just not used anymore. We're not getting a request for it, and it looks like nobody's getting a request for it. Or at least we're not getting those easy configs back into EasyBuild upstream. So maybe it's just dead software, and yeah, we're not going to keep that software alive. Yeah, there's a question in the back, Joey.
That's specific versions, right, of software, like 700. It's not different software. 700 different.
This is unique
packages.
Software projects without.
Also,
versions.
not versioning. It's not like
Not
the
version.
previous version or something. It's all of them.
So, yeah, so OpenFOAM is counted once in this.
Yeah.
Not 10 times or how many versions we have. Yeah. So it's a huge amount of supported software packages. Yeah. In EasyBuild'5 we have 2,800 something different software packages, and we're not counting extensions. So if you have like the bundle of our packages, the 1,000 something we have in there is not counted in this graph. So I think you can easily double those numbers if you look at extensions as well. It's insane. And if you look where we're coming from, when we first open sourced EasyBuild 1 in November 2012, I think we had like 10 packages and we were very proud of that. And now we're like 3,000. It's insane. Yeah.
So I will just go on that number. There was a bunch that were tool chains, old tool chains we don't support, and there were a bunch of easy configs for things, say like NumPy or SciPy, that are now in a bundle.
Yep.
So the actual real number of software lost is probably
It's
under
a bit
half
lower,
of that. Yeah.
So there are cases where we had standalone easy configs for something that are now only extensions. So I mean, it's difficult to count. I guess to make this a better graph, we should be counting the unique extensions as well. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, there's a bit of a drop there, but I'm not too worried about that. Okay. Then looking more towards the community, so I keep putting in this graph and these slides because I think the EasyBuild mailing list is still important. It's still an important communication channel for the community, even though it's not very actively used. I mean, some people, only about 40% says they actually send emails there or answer questions that are raised there. We don't see a lot of activity, but I don't see a reason to really kill it and force everybody to use Slack. I mean, some people are not a big fan of Slack, and that's okay. We'll keep it around. I don't think that's a big issue. This is the traffic. The amount of emails we get on the mailing list has been dropping very quickly since 2017 when we started the Slack channel. There was a bit of an uptake in 2023, but it looks like that was a temporary thing because it's just declining. For now, we'll keep it around, and I guess it's mostly me sending emails about the conf calls, but fine. Some people still prefer it, and that's fine. Where most of the community is in Slack. This is increasing still. At least there we're getting about 1/3 of the community actively participates in Slack, so posts questions, posts messages, and also answers questions. And I think many people here who have asked the question there, I think usually you get an answer, let's say within the hour or even quicker. So it's very active, it's very useful. We have people across a bunch of different time zones, so somebody's usually awake when you post your question. That's very good. And also through the survey, we see that both active and passive participation, so people in the Slack and at least reading stuff or also posting stuff, is slowly increasing. That's quite good. It's also important to remember that a small part of the community, about 14%, is not on Slack at all. So we cannot use that as the only communication channel. We still need the mailing list if we want to get in touch with people who want to be informed about EasyBuild. And we're 2 or 3 members away from having 1,000 people in Slack. So if you know anyone that's not in Slack yet who should be there, we're just 1 person away. Okay, so the next person will be number 1,000 is getting some kind of gift. I'm not sure what yet, but you'll get something. So if you're watching this and you're not in the Slack yet, you'll get something. So somebody keep an eye on who that is. Sorry? Lexming 2. That doesn't count. Yeah, getting a view on activity here is a bit difficult because Slack really wants you to pay to get good statistics on usage. But it does tell us that we have about between 100 and 200 people active per week. So active, I guess, is at least logging in and reading, and about 50 people posting per week. So yeah, it's very active. The 993 is already outdated, but that's very good. So yeah, we'll top 1,000 in the next couple of minutes, I guess. Then looking at LMOD and environment modules, Robert is not in the room yet. I think he's still finding his way, but he is close. LMOD is still the default modules tool that EasyBuild uses, so it's no surprise that it's also the one that most people are using. They're finally getting rid of the older versions. Some people were still using LMOD 6 or 7, which are no longer supported in EasyBuild 5, so you'll have to upgrade your LMOD to at least LMOD 8. 8.0 is good enough, which is already several years old, so it should not be controversial. But we're seeing a slow bump there in usage of environment modules, version 5. So yeah, and You have number 1000 in Slack. Okay, yeah, take a note of who that was. Yeah, so hopefully Xavier is going to talk about environment models this afternoon. This may increase further, right? I mean, there's definitely interesting stuff going on there. It's very actively developed, has a lot of cool features coming in. It was dead for a couple of years, a decade ago. For 5 years, it was essentially dead, but he revived it, so it's back from the dead, and yeah, very relevant today, for sure. But it's good to have an alternative, at least, next to Elmon. And it's fully supported by EasyBuild, and very soon we'll have better support for it in Easy as well. So we'll both do Lua and Tickle modules in Easy. Then we also asked the question, what other tools or projects are people combining with EasyBuild? This is impossible to read, I understand, but I mean, there's no big surprises here, I would say. Well, there's actually one thing that surprises me every year, which is that over a third of people are using Conda, and this is growing. So if I would show a plot over the years, more and more people are using Conda, which I don't understand, but okay. I guess I've had too many user tickets caused by people using Conda. Slurm is the most popular tool, other than the environment modules tools, that are being used in combination with EasyBuild. So EasyBuild can submit jobs to do installations, and we switched to Slurm as the default job backend in EasyBuild'25, and at least over half the people are using that. Apptainer is very popularly used as well, so I guess people use whatever they can get their hands on software, whether it's Conda or Apptainer or EasyBuild or Spec or whatever works they use, so they're not really sticking to a single tool, which makes sense to some extent, I guess. There's a small minority, about 10-11%, which is stable across the years, that combines both EasyBuild and Spec. I keep asking people to tell me how they're doing that, and I haven't really heard anyone yet. So if somebody here does it, please come and see me in the coffee break or in the lunch break, and let's have a chat on how that actually works in practice. What else? CernVMFS is slowly increasing. We'll have a talk on that on this afternoon. No, on Thursday, I think. On CernVMFS as well, which is very interesting. It's one of the key components in Easy as well, and that's slowly getting adoption within the EasyBuild community. And then the other popular tools, Easy, Reframe, Rich to get the color bars, progress bars in EasyBuild, and Open on Demand, the web portal. Those are 20-25%, and that remains stable. So there's no significant increase there, which a bit strange. At least for Open on Demand, I was expecting a bigger uptake. For some reason, that's also slowly being adopted. Then looking at Easy specifically, given the strong relation with EasyBuild, so this has been a question only for 3 years in the survey, because before that, Easy wasn't really there, so we could ask about it. But yeah, it's starting to grow on people. More and more people are aware of it or have played with it, are very interested in it. So the awareness is definitely growing, and that's also why on day 3 of the user meeting we'll focus strongly on Easy and aspects around that. It's still only a third of the community that has hands-on experience with Easy, so hopefully that will change a bit after the talks on Thursday. Then EasyBuild releases. I was a bit scared of this one, to be honest. So if you look at the number of releases per year, it has been going down, and if you include last year going down rather big, because we focused heavily on getting EasyBuild'5 out the door, so we didn't do our usual cadence of releases. But it looks like the community doesn't really see that as a big issue. So most people are still, or about 90% still says the release cadence is fine. Now, I guess if we would keep it up to only have 3-4 releases per year, that may change, right? So we definitely plan to have more frequent releases again now that EasyBuild'5 is out. But at least the road to EasyBuild'5 didn't have any really negative response. I wasn't sure what the situation would be here, but this tells me it's actually not too big of a problem. Okay, I'm stealing some of Simon's thunder. EasyBuild 5 highlights. I'm sure most of you have looked at the overview of changes, which is very long. You'll need 2 coffees to get through that. We tried very hard to have good documentation and have a good overview that you can easily digest what's going on. Simon will go through most of these in detail. The ones I want to mention is you'll need Python 3.6 or newer to run EasyBuild 5. You'll need LMOD 8 or environment modules at least 4.3, which is also years old by now, as a modules tool. One of the things, 2 things that cost us a lot of time to get done was changing the way that we run shell commands. So the Python function that EasyBuild uses to run shell commands is now run shell command, and this is, I didn't do the count, but it must be over 100 pull requests. So both in framework itself, implementing the function, iterating over it, adopting it in framework itself, and then updating all the easy blocks that we have to use that function as well. That's easily over 100 pull requests, but it does result in easier maintainable code and also some very cool features that Simon will briefly demo. So this is really a bit of a game changer, I think, and it's one of the major new features in EasyBuild 5. So that's the thing in bold there in the middle. When EasyBuild runs a shell command that fails, so say it runs make and that has a non-zero exit code, so it fails, EasyBuild will generate a script for you that you can just run, and it will drop you in an interactive shell where all the modules are loaded, all the environment variables are defined, you'll be in the right build directory. You can just arrow up to get the full command again, and it makes it very easy to figure out what went wrong and how to fix that. That's one of the main features in EasyBuild 5, and it took well over 100 PRs to actually get that fully supported. The module load environment is another one that took a lot of effort. That's more hidden, I would say. So you probably won't be exposed to that quickly, unless if you're running your own easy blocks. But this also improves the situation of the module only option a lot. So if you only want to generate or regenerate the module file, there's a lot higher chance that it will actually work and work correctly now, thanks to all these changes. And whatever issues are left there will also be easier to fix, thanks to this. So again, there's a lot of work in the background to really make things easier to maintain. Yeah, I'll let Simon cover the rest of it. There's lots of details here. Some changed defaults as well. EasyBuild will now use RPath linking by default. If you don't like that, you just reconfigure it to not use RPath. So there's many things that we flipped on by default that you can flip back if you're not happy with that. And just some numbers here, just to get across how much work this was. We created the branch to prepare EasyBuild 5 in March 2023, so about 2 years ago. So it's been 103 weeks since we started working on EasyBuild 5, really hands-on, beyond just ideas. EasyBuild 4.9.4 was released September. That was the last stable version we had, and it took us 25 weeks to actually get EasyBuild 5 out the door. So already we've been working on it already for a long time. But 4.9.4, we said, okay, that's the last one. The next one is going to be EasyBuild 5, however long it takes us, which is a lot longer than the typical 6 to 8 weeks that we wait between releases. We had a lot of coordination meetings with the people who were hands-on working on EasyBuild 5. I counted them. I found 59 of them across the 2 years. And that was really helpful, just to realign who's working on what, who has time in the next week or 2 weeks, what should we do next, where are we blocked. So that was really good. I will probably keep that up in some shape or form, like a maintainers call or whatever, to really focus our efforts a bit and make it clear who's working on what in terms of bigger feature. We count all the pull requests, both those in the develop branch since the 4.9.4 release and in the dedicated branch for EasyBuild 5, is 1,300 merged pull requests since March 2023. So 103 weeks, that means, yeah, it's about let's say 13 pull requests per week that we're merging. So we were not really twiddling our thumbs, we were really actively working on that. It was a bit spiky, there were weeks that not much was happening, but overall there's a lot of work behind this. And I'm very happy it's finally out the door. So of course we did reflect on this a bit. Why did it take us so long? Well, a lot of things, we branched off that separate branch very early, and the first thing we did was kill the Python 2.7 support. So merging that back into develop was not possible until we pushed out EasyBuild'5. That was maybe a mistake in hindsight. I mean, it was the first sensible thing to do, but it did make sure that that separate branch was, we had to keep dealing with that for about 2 years. Over the development process, we also added more features or more breaking changes that we wanted to squeeze in. So yeah, that of course didn't help. Initially, we were not very organized. That got a lot better in the last couple of months with those coordination calls. Only a limited number of people, I want to say 5, 6, it's probably a little bit more than that, were actually hands-on involved. So yeah, there was a lot of work to do, not that many people involved, so it takes time. But having 100 people would not have worked either. So there's a magic number there somewhere. And we discussed this with the maintainers. There was definitely some tension with Easy as well. So Easy was getting a lot of adoption, a lot of work being done, and some people were just drawn to that more than helping out with EasyBuild'5. So that definitely had some negative impact to some extent. Yeah, let me finish the slide.
There is a small comment, I think that
Oh yeah, the project board and GitHub really helped to have an overview of what's next, what's still open. Yeah, so that's maybe something we should try and keep up for future versions as well. Yeah, that in combination with those coordination meetings was a one main conclusion, if we from the maintainers summit that we had a couple of weeks ago, is that we should probably do major EasyBuild versions with breaking changes more often. And we think every 2 years is probably a good idea. So not before the next EasyBuild user meeting, but the one after that in 2027. We'll probably be looking at EasyBuild 6 around then, and we're already preparing for that, and we have some ideas there. Just to, there was now, what was it, Simon, 6 years since EasyBuild 4.0? I think it was 2019. And that's just
September 2019.
Yeah, September 2019. So it's like 6.5 years. That's just way too long. And then you're piling things up way too much. And you also get the feeling that if I don't get the breaking change in now, it's again going to be 6 years waiting, and that leads to scope creep, and you have these effects going on. So doing it every 2 years probably makes sense, and it's not too frequent to annoy people with. All right. Microsoft is sponsoring the meeting, so I have to use this. Looking at contributions to EasyBuild, just a historical overview as well. There's a big spike here for framework in terms of number of pull requests. We had 250 pull requests in 2024 that were opened. Opened in framework. That makes sense. We were working on EasyBuild'5. There was a lot of framework work to be done. Let's see what happens in 2025. This is probably going to drop a bit again in terms of activity, but that's not really unexpected. What's good is that about 70% of the framework PRs were done by people outside of Ghent. So either our team or Inuits who we're working with as consultants. About 70% of other people of PRs were done by other people outside of our team, which is, I think that's a good sign of the maturity of the community and being able to keep things going and changing. And even also, from non-maintainers, so people who are not deeply involved with EasyBuild development. That's about a third of the pull requests. Also for EasyBlocks, again, no surprise, there's a big surge. Over 400 pull requests in EasyBlocks in the last year. We had to migrate all those EasyBlocks to both run shell command and module load environments. So that was in 2 phases. So we had to touch all EasyBlocks multiple times while preparing for EasyBuild'5. So again, this is going to be a lot lower in numbers for the coming years, I expect. And here it's about 85% of pull requests are people outside of Ghent, and roughly the same 1/3 number by people who are not an EasyBuild maintainer. So I think it's pretty good. And then easy configs. This is where it gets really scary. We had 2,500 pull requests in 2024, so that's the first time we broke that threshold. We got very close in 2021, just 10 PR short or something. But yeah, this is a lot of pull requests. If you look on average per working day, so not counting weekends, you're looking at more than 10 pull requests per working day. So that's a lot of work to keep up. Now the good news is I'm opening fewer pull requests myself. I'm at about 10%. the consultants we work with, Inuit, so that's mostly Peter and Pavel, who's here in the back as well. They're responsible for about 13% of all pull requests. So everything coming from Ghent is about, let's say, 25% in total, 23. Everything else is coming from other people. So that's, again, a sign of a healthy community that's way bigger than just where EasyBuild came from. This is, again, looking at EasyConfigs, but in a different way, who merged them. So I'm getting a lot of help for merging pull requests, thankfully, because the situation in 2016, when I was doing everything by myself, was really bad. I was merging 1,400 something pull requests by myself in a single year. That was impossible to keep up. So that's why I started crying for help and finding maintainers. Yeah, that's really good. And one thing that also struck me, which I'm not sure why that is we have the new PR option. So to make a pull request from the EasyBuild command line, that was very popular and responsible for like 90% of pull requests up until last year. Last year, suddenly 33% of all pull requests were opened manually again. I'm not sure what happened there. I think there's some effect of the EasyBuild'25 development as well, where we do scripting to clean up EasyConfigs, but I don't think that's enough to really explain that. I think, Pavel, you're not always using the new PR, right? Are you? Okay, then I don't know what happened here. If somebody has some idea, I would like to know. Is there a problem with new PR? Is it too buggy or not? Yeah, not working? I don't know.
2022 and 23, I was doing a lot of it, so I stopped after that. That's it.
Yeah, but the total numbers are still higher. But so there's a shift to people doing it manually for some reason. I don't have an explanation for that. And these are not survey numbers. These are actually hard. Yeah. New users that don't know the feature, maybe. Yeah, that could be. Yeah. It could be keyring. Yeah, the keyring Python package that you need is definitely a nuisance to deal with. Yeah.
So this will be detected by new PR being in the PR title, PR description.
Yes.
I wonder whether one thing is I know I edit that first message, and whether or not
Probably add to it. No, do you actually wipe that? I don't.
I usually not, but sometimes I might.
But still, it cannot
it's-
explain going from 12% to 33% by editing the description. I don't think. And we can actually detect it in other ways as well, based on the branch name. We can also tell. So yeah, I want to learn what happened here. This is looking at open EasyConfig pull requests over the years. For a couple of weeks, even months, even we have over 1,100 open pull requests in EasyConfigs. That's just way too much. We really need to clean that up. Focused on EasyBuild'5 first. That was our first goal. This is our next goal, getting these numbers back down. About 70% of those pull requests were opened over 6 months ago. So that tells me that at least a big part of those are probably not relevant anymore. We can just close or... Yeah, I don't want to be over aggressive here because I don't want to not value the work that people have been doing. But yeah, we need to deal with this.
It's true as well that it does turn people off, right?
Yeah.
To see all those open pull requests.
That's coming. Yeah, okay, have some funny stuff as well. That's coming in another stat. You can actually see it's discouraging people as well. This is looking at total number of unique contributors to EasyBuild in the 3 main repositories. That's still growing, so new people are still coming in, opening pull requests. That's very good. We're getting close to 500 unique people for EasyConfigs. We're probably going to break that in 2025. So that at least keeps increasing. For EasyBlocks and Framework, it's a lot slower, but no surprise. It's a lot more complex to make pull requests there. This is, I think, what shows that we're getting an impact of having this many open PRs. So we had a drop in the number of unique people in 2024 that opened an EasyConfig pull request. So that it was about 130, it's now 115. It's not a very dramatic drop, but it may be the first sign of people being discouraged to actually open pull requests. So yeah, we really need to get our act together there and clean things up and get back on top of things. This is one of the last questions in the survey. Do you would you evaluate EasyBuild? That's again very positive, as it always has been pretty much. And still, nobody ever answered pretty bad. I guess if they don't like EasyBuild at all, they're not going to answer the survey. But yeah, so it's definitely biased. Yeah. Very quickly about the Euro HPC Federation platform. Well, Henrik is going to give us all the details there, and we'll talk about Easy on Thursday. But Ghent University was invited in the consortium that eventually was selected to implement the Euro HPC Federation platform. And the main reason for that is some text in the tender that explicitly mentioned both EasyBuild and Easy. So it was recognized, let's say, as standard tools in a European context, and they needed to find people or partners who had enough knowledge in these things to be part of the consortium. So we were only pulled into the consortium because of the well-established communities and tools, and that's very good. To some extent, this is well, if I don't count multiscale, this is the first time we're getting a return in terms of funding for all the work we've been doing for 15 years. So want to earn, if you want to get rich on open source, yeah, it'll take some time. Okay, I'm actually over time already, but very quickly, short-term challenges. Yeah, the main one is getting back on top of those contributions, so getting those numbers down, especially for easy configs. We can probably get a bit more organized in terms of maintainers, make sure somebody's always keeping an eye on things. Plan merge prints again, maybe on a monthly basis in the short term. It probably makes sense to really aggressively get those numbers down. We'll revise our testing infrastructure. Sebastian is going to talk about that on Thursday. And some features that I think are now a lot easier to implement thanks to EasyBuild 5 could be having better error reporting in EasyBuild. When something goes wrong, that it really gives you good guidance towards what went wrong and how you may fix it. We're already doing that for shell commands, but we can do that for other things that go wrong as well. And AMD GPU support, which Michael is going to talk about ROCm this afternoon, is definitely something I can see happening quite soon. Longer term, once we get the numbers down, we'll have to keep up with incoming contributions. We're getting 2,500 pull requests per year. That's not going to decrease. So we need to have a way of dealing with that, get very efficient. Yeah, that will need to happen. Keeping an eye on the synergy or sometimes tension between EasyBuild and Easy, so people being pulled to Easy and do work there rather than on EasyBuild. That's something we'll definitely have to learn how to deal with a bit better. I already mentioned ARM is here, RISC-V is coming, so that's only going to make things more complicated. And the LLVM-based toolchain that David is going to talk about tomorrow a bit is also something I see. I put it in the longer-term goals because it will probably need to do a lot of testing and get very confident with that ecosystem and make sure we don't get into too much trouble there. But I see that happening. Certainly by the next user meeting, we'll have a clearer view on that. But yeah, LVM is becoming very interesting, and yeah, we shouldn't ignore that as we have been doing over the last couple of years. And if there's anything else that you would like to see happen in EasyBuild, this meeting is perfect to talk about that. Over coffee breaks, over lunch, during questions, please mention any ideas you have. One thing we're also doing is working towards proper governance of EasyBuild. So I've been leading the project for a long time, which I think has been going well, but it's time that we pull that open a bit and have more people that are in a position to take decisions on where EasyBuild is going, or that we more actively get input from the community through some kind of voting mechanism or whatever. So we kickstarted that just a couple of weeks ago. We have what we call an initial steering committee, which is self-formed, just maintainers who are interested in having these discussions. One of the first things we will do there is set up proper governance. So probably how do we compose a steering committee? What kind of voting mechanism do we use? We're now figuring that out. We're looking at other open source projects, how they're doing that and trying to learn from them. And we think eventually when we have a proper elected steering committee, we'll probably have a proper roadmap for EasyBuild and long-term goals, a vision statement, maybe these type of things. So 5 out of 6 people who are currently in the initial steering committee are here at the meeting. So if you have any ideas or anything you're concerned with about how EasyBuild is currently being run, talk to them, talk to Simon, Sebastian, Sam, Kaspar, or myself, and we'll take this up in the ongoing discussions that we have. And then, of course, somebody's going to ask about EasyBuild 6. I just want to beat you to that question. Yes, we already have some ideas on EasyBuild 6. Like I said, we may have it out in 2 years. One of the things which we've already started on EasyBuild 5, but we paused that effort a bit because it was going to delay EasyBuild 5 even more, is to improve the consistency in naming. So sometimes we glue words together, sometimes we use an underscore in between, sometimes we use shorthands like config instead of configure. It's just a bit of a mess over the years, so we want to align that a bit better, and we want to do it in a way that's not too intrusive. So we already have support in EasyBuild 5 for both configure opt and config opt. You can just use one or the other, and it will work totally fine. So we have alternatives for the same thing. And we want to work towards a situation where we deprecate the old thing, config opt, and start motivating you to go to configure opt and try to make it a smooth ride. So doing that is going to take time, but it's one of the main goals we have in mind currently for EasyBuild 6. And then some more crazy ideas. You can read the memes after the talk. I want to set up a blog for EasyBuild to get a bit more promotion going, report on events, report on important things happening in the EasyBuild community. Different people can write. We can have guest writers, whoever. You don't need to be a maintainer or whatever. Anyone can write up something, maybe some local training you did, whatever. And we're aiming to make the first post about the 10th EasyBuild user meeting. So I asked Helena to be involved with that a bit, to whatever was most interesting to report on, funny pictures, interesting pictures, whatever. If anyone else wants to join that and likes to write up these kind of reports, please tell us, and you can join in on the fun. And I hope if we really start this, that it's not a single post and then dead for years. If we do it, we really should put ourselves up for doing at least one post per month, I would say. That's a good minimal frequency. Another crazy idea which some of us, especially Alan and me, have been discussing and floating for a while now is starting a non-profit or foundation or something like this for EasyBuild and Easy, where people can go to and to sponsor the project or to get some paid support services, so that we either then subcontract to Inuits, for example, or do ourselves if we have the manpower for it. We're starting to see a lot of interest for that. Easy will be adopted at all the EuroHPC hosting entities, all the EuroHPC sites. If they can help support the project and make sure it's sustainable, that's probably in their best interest. Commercial companies like Microsoft and indirectly also NVIDIA are sponsoring this user meeting. That's one way of sponsoring, but they have no other way of bringing money into the project. That could change with a foundation or a non-profit. So I think it's something we really need to start looking at. And the High Performance Software Foundation, which Todd is briefly going to talk about this afternoon, is a very interesting one way, at least, of doing that. More crazy ideas coming. This is one that I haven't really discussed with anyone yet, at least not in detail. I think it could be interesting to see if we could combine LLMs with EasyBuild. Many of the work that EasyBuild does, it's text, right? It's spitting output from shell commands. We're dealing with easy config files, which are essentially Python code, which are known to be working quite good in LLMs. So I think there's a lot of possibilities there to have some really cool features. And I'm definitely interested in working on that myself. And I managed to not do that before EasyBuild 5 was out, because it really was, yeah, it's really interesting to dive into. But this may be very controversial, right? Some people may not be happy with EasyBuild adopting LLMs. So we need to make this fully optional. You'll have to configure EasyBuild to do this. You'll need to install an extra package to do this. But we'll not do it underneath the covers by accident.
I've spent about a day with a couple of different LLMs trying to make it create an EasyBuild for me, because I wanted to have AI do my day job for me. And it was kind of a disaster.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah.
I've actually tried a little bit myself, and there's some custom fine-tuned models that you can find through ChatGPT, which are not terrible. They make stupid mistakes, but if you give it an easy config file that's wrong, and just say, this doesn't work, help me, it was actually able to point out some of the things that you have to change. It also gave you other things which are like, no, you don't know what you're talking about, but it could find some of the problems. So yeah, I don't know how well it would work. It definitely has to come with a warning for sure, but it could be helpful. And depending on how familiar you are with EasyBuild already, it could be a big help.
I think we have a couple easy configs that were generated by LLMs already.
All right. you played with that yourself, or?
Yeah, more than a year ago.
More than a year ago already, yeah. I mean, your talk is going to be very interesting for that as well. And I bet you're interested in maybe working together on this. Yeah. It's also possible that we'll get a student intern at Ghent University. If I can convince my boss, I'll let them play with this for a couple of weeks and just see what comes out. But yeah, we'll be careful in doing this. We're not going to go LLMs all the way and force it on everyone. Because I definitely know this can be controversial to people. Another crazy idea, and sometimes crazy ideas have already been done, is an official shop for EasyBuild and Easy. If you go to the EasyBuild website now, there's a new button called Swag. If you click the Swag button, it will send you to an actual shop where you can order Easy mugs, coffee mugs, EasyBuild coffee mugs, and maybe in the future other stuff as well. Sam was really keen on a t-shirt. We can let him order a t-shirt if he wants to. Now the good news is for everybody here in the room are already getting these coffee mugs. Not the classic one. So Sam, what you're getting one EasyBuild, one from Easy, the big size one, the special edition one for the EasyBuild user meeting as well, which has a sponsored edition. So each is getting 3 coffee mugs. And yeah, if you want more, or if you break it, you can order yourself through the website. I'm using a website that YouTube influencers are using. And it worked really well. You order 3 coffee mugs at your house. It works really well. We're not earning money on this. I'm forced by the website to ask for a little bit more money to make sure the costs are covered. But it's like $1 per mug that you order, and all of that is going to be put back into making free coffee mugs for future events. So we're not earning money on this. And that's really. Oh, and yeah, NVIDIA, Microsoft Inuits are paying for these mugs. And maybe there's more crazy ideas, right? So typically after a new major release, you say, okay, what's our next goal? What's our next cool thing we want to do? Maybe some of you are playing with some ideas that we should discuss. So yeah, please mention those. Please bring them up in discussions. Way over time, but yeah, that's it. Do we have any burning questions right now before we move over to Simon? Now has 15 minutes to cover these. Now we can take some time and use the coffee breaks as buffer, but yeah, I'll be around all week. If there's any questions, come and find me. And yeah, I think we can wrap up here and switch to the next talk.
Set a really bad example now for everyone else, for the rest
Going
of the
over time, yeah. This happens every year.
It's okay. I did warn him that I didn't have enough slides.
That's not the right one.
Yeah.